I've been leading at every level ever since I joined the credit union movement. Even before I was in management, I helped organize our weekly branch meetings and invited other departments in so we could get to know them better and learn how our roles interacted with each other. When I moved into more formal leadership positions as assistant branch manager and branch manager, I used my position to empower others to grow. I structured our coaching conversations around my team's personal goals as well as what I needed them to work on as their manager. In my current position as advocacy officer, I'm trying to make something that many people are uncomfortable with, advocacy in politics, more inviting and show that everyone has a place within it. I'm frequently asking people to stretch outside of their comfort zones. Through trial and error, I found that personally asking for someone to do an advocacy action instead of relying on group emails to be a lot more effective because people may not see themselves as the type of person who's involved in advocacy and decide to sign up themselves. I've also learned to provide an overview of our legislative system and background on our credit union issues when I do outreach because many people don't participate because they feel they don't have enough knowledge. People are interested in politics and advocacy, so once you get over their fears and show that it's not just angry people yelling on TV, they are much more apt to be involved. I also serve as a credit union champion through a program run by our Iowa Credit Union League that finds credit union staff throughout the state to lead grassroots advocacy efforts at their credit unions. Having the network throughout Iowa is really helpful to learn about what's working well at other credit unions and share what's going well here at Collins. There's no need for us to reinvent the wheel when we can learn from each other. I've really enjoyed collaborating with this group. Overall, to see a change in the gaps in leadership and governance roles for women and emerging leaders, current leadership needs to commit to taking actual steps to address these gaps. The first step they could take is reframing what they're looking for in a candidate. Often these decisions are framed around who is the most quote-unquote qualified or has the most impressive resume. For example, things like a degree from an Ivy League university or prestigious internships and job histories. When you do that, you're going to tend to keep hiring the same types of people. If you instead reframe the selection criteria to asking what perspectives are we missing and how could the new hire address those missing perspectives, the diversity in candidates selected should definitely increase. For example, if your team is comprised mostly of seasoned professionals who tend to have the same opinions, you might decide your team lacks an outsider's perspective. If you make part of the hiring criteria that you're looking for someone with that perspective, you'll be more likely to hire someone with outside experience. This will bring more young professionals and people from outside the industry to the table. Or if you're looking for guidance on how your organization affects women, it would make sense to hire someone with experience on women's perspectives. This is often women. Hiring with this framework in mind doesn't have to completely negate your traditional qualifications, but instead increase how much you value the diversity of perspectives on your team. An additional step current leadership should take to address the gaps for women and emerging leaders in leadership and governance roles is to address the bias throughout the selection process. Current leadership should take seriously the task of becoming aware of their own internal biases, acknowledging when they come up, and working to reframe them. There are several trainings and facilitators on this topic that could be helpful. These should be ongoing so the results are continuous and do not wane over time. Additionally, leadership should do an inventory of all their recruitment and hiring practices to look for ways that bias could be built into them. For example, if all mentorship and networking occurs at after-work happy hours or on the golf course, this system would be biased against those who don't golf or who can't be away from home for additional time due to caretaking responsibilities. This is mostly women. Examining all these practices and asking which candidates are we helping or hurting, and then updating them when necessary would go a long way in eliminating institutional bias and then thus help more women and emerging leaders advance to these roles.